Hello. Uh, uh, you know, I like to discuss the difference of women and men and masculine and feminine and uh, how it's viewed in society is that, women want a man who is protector, uh, can defend the home, pretend the, pre- defend the people that live in the house or the family. But I think they also want the man to put on makeup and wear a dress and you know and show like a feminine side, or with their daughters be like fathers with daughters, not in a sexual way in any way, but as a caring and understanding way and gentle and stuff like that. And I think to a big extent men, if they do put on the makeup or the dress or they're very caring with their daughters, they try to hide that. They don't broadcast that. They broadcast the UFC fight, or the heavyweight fight kind of thing, and that's what they want to broadcast, and that's what they want everybody to see them as. And when they put on the makeup or the dress, they do it behind closed doors, and they don't leave the house. You'll never see it, and if the wife knows about it, she's the only one. And you know, And I'm not saying this is everyone, but a large, to a large extent, and uh, that's why men that wear dresses and makeup outside in the public, like myself, uh, are not seen as masculine and the UFC fighter. It's very. They're very shocked when somebody like that stands up for themselves, and they think they can push people like that around and stuff like that. And it's just not true. And and it's not because like it doesn't mean if you wear a dress or makeup or anything like that or good to your daughter, it doesn't mean you can't be ferocious and defending your family. Of course you can. And I think the flip side is true with women, where they like a woman who's feminine and caring and loving and nice to everyone in the family, and a caretaker, does the cooking, does the cleaning, um, the organizing and stuff. Um, um, Wears a lot of hats, but the one hat the man likes to see a woman wear, which he usually won't admit it, is to be the mama bear, and really defend her kids and really, don't mess with this one, kind of attitude, kind of aura. Uh, they don't they won't admit it, but that's when they see the woman display this, they like it. They're like, ah, she's a fire cat, and they'll make fun of it, but they really like it, and they don't like someone who's a pushover and, you know, just does what they're told kind of thing and doesn't defend their child and stuff like that. And I think it's just wearing both sides of the spectrum, feminine and masculine, for men and for women. I think it's balance, it's duality, it's best of both worlds. And I think when we run into problems is when, like when you're supposed to be defending your family and you don't, cause out of fear or whatever, and that's when you have a problem. Uh, but it's just it's not as black and white, and with the millions and billions of people that are on the planet, everybody falls into those spectrums on in their own way. You know, um, I think like a lot of your CEOs and stuff, and the bosses of your companies, uh, they go to dominatrix. they get whipped, they get treated like garbage by a dominatrix, and they pay thousands and thousands of dollars to that dominatrix to do that, and they love it, and they can't get enough of it, and they have like a running scheduled appointment with the dominatrix, like every Thursday at 8. I get beat up, and they love it. And it's like because at work that nobody tells them what to do. At work, they're the boss. They're the one doing the whipping, and and they like to get whipped themselves. And they don't admit it. I mean, it's not in their calendar that I have a dominatrix at Thursday, but they do, and they are. And you know, dominatrix make a lot of money. I've known a few. And I've never gone to one in respect of professionally, but I knew them casually as a friend, and they would tell me stories, and it was very funny, but and sad, but it's just part of human nature. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump loves, and I wouldn't believe Melania is not a dominatrix. I think if you saw her at the inauguration, you would believe the outfit she wore on the inauguration. You would believe she's a dominatrix, and I wouldn't be surprised if she is. She is a dominatrix. But Donald Trump puts on the air that he's the boss and he's the boss. But I think she's the boss in the bedroom, and I think she's pretty much tired of him now. But for Barron and for whatever other reason she sticks around. So, but I don't know. It's so you can't put your finger on it. You really can't. And the minute you do it, you find out you didn't cover the whole base. You just covered a little bit. Like I just did in this 7 minutes. I just covered a little bit of the base. And I think men like they hate their woman's cat. Secretly, they hate it because she treats it like a child, and she talks about it all the time. She says, "Oh, Fluffy doesn't like that," or "Fluffy feels this way or that way," and of course, Fluffy didn't say, "I like this or that." She's just like interpreting the cat's meows or the cat's actions into human feelings and human desires. Uh, my mother would always say that certain animals didn't like men, and my mother's a psychopath, so, she's a narcissist, and, it wasn't that the animal didn't like men, she doesn't like men, and she puts that on the animal, so you have that too. But women, that have cats, and usually the cat came before the boyfriend, so there's that relationship as well. And you're like moving in on a whole situation. And there's usually more than one cat. Usually that's the whole thing too. There's more than one cat. And a lot of people that have a cat, I know, um, when they first get the cat, they clean the litter box. They're very clean. They're very anal about it and stuff. But after time goes on, and they become nose blind to the urine and the smell of the litter box and the smell of the house with the cat, they come nose blind. They don't smell it. You walk in the house as a stranger and you're like knocked out like a punch in the face for the smell. But they're like, "Oh, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong. I don't smell nothing." And when they get to that point, they don't clean the litter box. They're not anal about it. They let things go because they don't smell it. They don't understand what you undeniably smell when you walk in the door. And, they had that problem too. And, you know, the men don't like that they talk to it like a child. And then have to go out if you want to go on vacation, you got to worry about the cat. If you want to go out for dinner, you got to come home for the cat. And you have to feed the cat, and you have to worry about the cat. And like I said, there's usually more than one cat. And when you lay in bed, the cat wants to lay on your head, right on your face, and stuff like that. So, it's very difficult. And now, I think if you knew a man that was like that, that doesn't follow the script. You think a man would more or less have a dog than a cat. So dogs are more a man thing, and a cat is more of a female thing. And cats are like females. A cat will just lay there and they don't care what you do. You do what you want. They're unbothered by it. And a dog is in your face and wants to know everything that's going on, and everybody that comes through the door has to go through the dog. And the cat is like, I don't care who comes in the door. You're gonna feed me, then I care. If not, go to hell. Yeah. So yeah, that too. But I don't know. Yeah, and animals are good for us. They're good for our vibration. Um, People that don't have cats are usually on a lower vibration. Uh, they're not very loving and caring people. And people that have cats, whether you like it or not, if you like the cat or not, having a cat or having a dog or even having fish uh, puts you on a different vibration level. And they say the most calming thing you can put in your house is a fish tank. And it's the fish are just very calm. And I think the bubbling noise with the oxygen machine that you have to have with a fish tank is calming and soothing as well, because it's constant and it's not loud. It's just you hear the bubbling in the background, and stuff like that. So it's just fish tanks are known to be very calming, and but low vibration people, they can't handle that. The bubbling sound is annoying. They want you to turn it off when they're there and stuff like that. And they're the ones that when the dog runs up, they're like, get the dog away or put the dog in the bathroom. I don't want nothing to do with the dog. Or they come in the house and the person is like, I'm allergic to cats. Get rid of the cat, and stuff like that. They're very low vibrational people. Um, uh, And the low vibrational people, when they have a cat or they have a dog or they have fish, they don't take care of them. They don't feed them. The water bottle is always empty or the water dish is empty, and they don't get food. Maybe they get food every other night instead of every night. Stuff like that. They're not good people. And they show it through their pets, and they show it like they don't take them to the vet. They don't get their shots. They don't when there's a problem with the animal. Oh, it'll heal. I don't need to take it to the vet. It'll heal on its own. That kind of attitude, and that's very low vibrational people. And I think Trump voters are low vibrational people. Most of your Trump voters are basically white trashy, and even if they have money, they can have money and still be white trashy. Uh, it's like there's a saying that not all Trump voters are racist, but all races are Trump voters. So, and if you're a racist, you're a low vibration. You're you're below the standard of normal, and because Trump won, and I don't think he won because of the vote, but a lot of people did vote for him, and there are a lot of white trashy people in America, and that's why the world doesn't really respect us, and a lot of low vibrational people in this country, and it's done on purpose. It's done at the school level. You're kept at a low vibration since kindergarten. If you come from a low vibrational family, you're definitely most likely going to be a low vibrational adult. Now, do you have to stay that way, or are you stuck if you are that way? No, no, you're not. But it does take work. You're not going to wake up in the morning and say, well, I'm on a higher vibration today because I say I am. And no, it doesn't work that way, you know. But, and a lot of you are stuck, It's just because your family keeps you stuck, It's the crab in the bucket story, when that one crab gets out of the bucket, all the other crabs start grabbing at him and pulling them back into the bucket, with them, because they don't want you to escape, And that's what happens when you try to higher your vibration. You become uh, the crab in the bucket, and like Trump, even though he's president, he's a very low vibrational person. And that's why a lot of low vibrational people have voted for him and support him. Uh, the Republicans in themselves are low vibrational people because they're racist. They're very evil people, and I'm not saying their agendas are evil. I believe people should work. I believe people should take care of themselves, but I also believe there should be a social network and there should be help for people that can't work and stuff like that. And they don't believe that, and there should be medical and all that. But they're all into they don't want to bring down the price of medication or prescriptions because they support the drug companies and they don't care that the person needs his heart meds and he can't afford them and he has to choose between food or heart meds and they don't really care about that. And that's very low vibrational. That's low vibrational thinking. It's behavior, whatever you want to say. So and they go into scams, like Make America Great Again. Make America Great Again. The word "great" is in there on purpose. And when you go to a car salesman, they say it's the greatest car, it's the fastest car, it's the nicest car. All those buzzwords, those words are used on purpose. They're not gonna. You don't go to a car dealership and they say, "Oh, this is the worst car on the lot. Do you want it?" This is the best car on the lot. It might be the worst car on the lot, but they're gonna say it's the best car on the lot. That's a lot of Trump does that a lot. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. Oh, we have the greatest deal. They can't turn it down. It's the greatest deal. It's all those buzzwords, and those are what con artists, car salesmen. That's what con artists use against you. They try to bait you. They try to get you to buy the car because the dealer said it's the fastest car or it's the cheapest car. It's the best car, but it's the cheapest car at the same time. That kind of thing. So and the best warranty package. It's never the worst warranty package. Everything's covered. They say when you go to a computer store and you buy a computer and you get the warranty, they're like, well, you could smash the computer with your foot on the ground and we'll replace it. Believe me, they won't. So it's just they lie, they lie, they lie, and that's what Trump does. He lies, he lies. And I don't want to make these videos about Trump in any way. I know I do talk a lot about him, but I don't know if you're watching this 8 years from now and Trump's not a big deal anymore. Because I would think the videos would last a long time. But at the day I'm making it now, we're in the Iran war and stuff, and he's, since he even before he got elected, he was in the news every day. He's, it's not the news anymore. It's Trump news. It's like they have 2 or 3 stories about Trump every day on the news, and and he knows that, and he plays to that, and he baits the news. He lays breadcrumbs for the news, just so they keep coming back for more. And he says things so that tomorrow there's another story that you don't have today. It might be the same. It might be the same story, but it's a different story because it's a different day. And it's all about him. And the news loves him. The comedians love him. They make a lot of jokes about Trump. They make the nightly shows. They make a lot of money off of Trump and making fun of him. The news makes tons and tons of billions of dollars talking about Trump, and Trump knows that. He knows every minute of it, and the people that handle Trump know that, and they play to that. They bait the whole system. They know. That's why the market. He plays the market. The market goes up and down by what he says, and he knows which way it's going to go before it does, and he buys, and his people are buying the stocks before it goes up, and they're selling it when it comes down, and he's making millions and billions of dollars, and it's all market manipulation. Now, if you or I did it, we'd go to jail, but Trump, not going to happen, So, and the big news now, if you're watching this 8 years from now, is the midterms, he's going to lose the House or he's going to lose the Senate, and I don't know if he's going to lose anything. It hasn't happened yet, but I would assume he's going to lose the House. But, they're going to move for impeachment. It's going to be a fiasco. It's going to be a joke, just like the last impeachments they did against them. And he loves it and the newspapers love it. They sell it. Every day the headline in the newspapers, oh, impeach Trump, or this vote went this way, or this one said that, and it's all on the front page of the news, and it sells newspapers, and that's all they care about. Look, I don't know how many millions of copies of a newspaper they make every day for one day's circulation, and they don't print those circulations, those copies every day just to have the 7-Eleven or the supermarket throw them away. They want to sell those papers, and they have to pay for the circulation, and they have to sell a majority of them to pay just for the printing and the paper and the people that write them, and they have to make salaries that write the articles and the pictures and all that stuff and the ink and all that, so they have to sell, and that's what they care about. They don't care about what the article is. They don't care what the story is, as long as it's going to sell. I mean, they were selling the Mars. If you're watching this 8 years from now, we went to Mars, and we didn't go to Mars. We didn't. They went around the planet. If we're lucky, if they even left the planet, the scams and the BS the government tries to sell. They never went to the moon. They never went to the moon. If they went to the moon, why did it take them 50 years to go back? They're just trying to brainwash a whole generation, a whole new generation. The old generation, the 69 generation, is me. They're old, but they want to get the young kids. They want to get them brainwashed to think they can go to the moon and even further to Mars. And it's all a bunch of crap. The radiation out there is so immense, and without the protection of the Earth, you're dead. You're not going to survive. And that's why we can't go to the moon, and that's why we can't go to Mars. The amount of lead you would need in an aircraft to protect you from the radiation, you couldn't get it off the ground. So it's an impossibility. And they tell you it's the greatest mission ever. They went the farthest with the moon thing that they did the other. And they did it on April Fool's Day. They launched the missile, the spacecraft on April Fool's Day. So you got that too. It's a little subliminal hit there. But they say that this spacecraft went the farthest. Man has went the farthest from Earth ever. That's a buzzword there. The farthest, farthest ever. And it's like they're just trying to sell you crap. When you hear that kind of stuff, they're trying to sell you crap.